Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thanks for rejoining me with my Advanced Dungeons & Dragons solo campaign. We are probably at episode 5 in the Darkwater Lake, the expedition into the temple. We have been through quite a few trials and tribulations. I probably need to give just a quick summary of where we are. Let us dispense with the Dungeon Master's Guide for 1 second. I will get to my overall control sheet. We have now reached 1140. We had been proceeding up this particular corridor here. We had encountered a pit trap, which we successfully navigated. We reached the door, we bashed the door open. In that time, we had spent, I've got a little timekeeping note, we'd spent another turn, so we're up to there. We bashed this door down, and lo and behold, 10 goblins were staring back at us. We have a number of different things we need to do to determine exactly what those goblins are all about, what our room is about. We did actually determine that the room was a temple room, and it was to do with indoctrination and a meditation. And we would have to roll on the torture, 1d3, the torture table, and my room dressing table, 1d3 times. So what I think what we'll do is we'll actually, in parallel, we'll be building up the room. We'll be building up our goblin opponents. We will be getting the full picture. I did have an open question about the size of the room, and I think it was 20 by 30, so I've just gone ahead and calculated that it would be these dimensions. There is a door to the right, so that's all we kind of know about it just now. Oh yes, what the other detail, which is quite tantalizing, was that we generated treasure. So there will be two rolls on the treasure table. Hopefully we won't get 1,000 silver pieces. And even if we do, we get to do roll on my tantalizing new sub-table, which covers minor treasures. I do have a bit of a checklist first of what I want to do with my goblins. And this will involve determining their motivation. And with the last encounter, we had an option of 4. So I'm just going to go back and recycle that table and roll on that. We'll have to determine surprise, and by the fact that we bashed in the door quite efficiently, I'll say that surprise is on the table, and we could actually surprise these goblins. We'd have to work out distance on the back of that, the hit points, the weapons. If we come to a reaction roll, they will be -20 with our characters. I think on the actual overall checklist, I've done the timekeeping, so we're okay. We're up to date with that. It is now 11:50. 10 goblins. We need to determine their motivation. We've got a note of treasure. Yes, I've got motivation here. It is indoctrination and meditation. So we could actually, I think we might be better to actually start with the room. And just go through a kind of logical way of building this room up before our very eyes. I think that would be quite a better way to do things. And if I use little post-it notes, I can shuffle them around and basically create a bit of a almost like a schematic of what the picture is. So the first thing we did was we tested that it was indoctrination and meditation. So this is areas where cultists were brainwashed, underwent dark enlightenment, or focused their evil energies. It includes items that represent the horrific religion, torture 1d3, a room table 1d3. And we can also roll on the atmosphere table because we got an atmosphere roll. I do have a sub rule that I can roll on an atmosphere table on a 5 to 6, but we already generated that when we came in. So we've got 2 things to do. We've got the dressing and we've got the actual atmosphere. So let's bash on with the dressing and find out what is the story on that. So the room purpose that we have defined is indoctrination. So it is a cult. It indoctrinates its cultists, and it must do an element of meditation. The mind boggles with lawful evil meditation, what that might involve. Something probably pretty awful. This room is really going to probably reek of evil. It's probably going to have an atmosphere all of itself. But let's find out how many we roll. So according to this, we're going to roll on torture 1d3 times. So let's get our d3. We'll use the black dice of Darkwater Lake. It's quite appropriate. We're going to have 2 torture items that we can roll on the table. And on the general, the room table, we have 1d3 as well. What are we going to get? We get 3. So it's going to be full of stuff. It's going to be full of stuff. We could do the atmosphere as well at the same time, just find out exactly whether we're going to have a combination of 2 or 3. So let's roll our atmosphere on our little table too. And then we get all the parameters together. So 4 is unexplained sounds and noises. So I don't know how much the noises will be. So we've got an unexplained sound, which we can roll. So that'll be interesting to hear what is the noise that maybe with the din of the goblins inside. I don't know whether we'll be able to discern it too well. So let's calculate. Let's determine the dressing, and we will go to our I was going to say our favorite table first. That sounds a bit strange coming out with torture, but from a kind of an aesthetic point of view, just for gameplay and excitement, it probably is quite an interesting table to be rolling on. We'll get our D100. I'll make sure I've got my 10-sided dice. There we go. So we're going to have our first item of torture in the room. It is an 84. An 84 is thumb screws. Right, thumb screws. Yes, that is probably a major item of torture. So maybe the goblins are employing the thumb screws. We have to really think of what their motivation is. When if we get all the dressing together, we can maybe piece all that together when we see the goblins and actually start to almost maybe kind of make little stories up about what they're up to. Some of their motivations aren't just straightforward patrol. There are other things. So maybe the thumb screws might have a purpose. And what else have we got? We've got another one. So we're going to have 47. And a 47 is a barrel of oil. Okay. So we've got a barrel of oil. Okay. Right, so pretty standard fare for a torture chamber. Yep. The mind boggles. And when it comes to the actual room dressing, I do have a sub-table for that. Let's just get that out. I had it in front of me. So when it comes to room dressing, we can have 3 of them. And what I'll do is I consult this 3 times and find out what specific subtables we're going to be talking about. So the first one is going to be 4, which is general. So we've got a general. Second one is going to be furnishings, general. Furnishings, general. And the third one is going to be 6. Oh, special items. So that could be clothing, food and drink, or jewelry. Right, D3. So let's see what we get. Oh, that's a bit of disappointment. Clothing. But you never know, there might be a fur coat. Okay, clothing. All right, so let's find out what, if we look at our Dungeon Master's Guide on this. The first one we're going to look at is general, and I think that's one of the first. Yeah, here's the first, with the famous broken arrow as being one of the components. Will we get the broken arrow? That is the question. Doubt it. We get a 77. So the first one on general is sack torn. Okay. So I'll just put room here. Sack torn. So maybe one of the goblins has got the sack over his head and he's teasing one of the other ones, putting little eye holes in it. Yeah. What about furnishings, general? Okay. Let's have a look at that one. Furnishings and appointments, general, for its full title. What are we going to get on this table? So we get a 71, and a 71 says, 71 is rushes. And what is rushes? Is that actual rushes on the floor? You know, the things that you would put down like reeds and, you know, come out of a river? Yeah, I suppose it could be. You know, that might be quite a good thing. Maybe if the goblins are in here, maybe they throw rushes down that they've gathered on the lakeside, and they've brought them in, and they're using that on the flooring. So when they're doing all the kind of, I suppose, their business, maybe having rushes all over your floor might be a good thing. And then we've got this clothing thing, which is quite tantalizing. You know, what are they wearing? Funny hats. Let's see, 65 on clothing. And clothing and footwear. Oh, footwear is covered. So 65 is pouch, purse. So we've got a pouch and we have a purse. Sorry, pouch or purse. It could be used as a purse. I wonder if it had any coinage in it. That's probably going to go into the general treasure trove that we're potentially going to get access to, if, you know, on the proviso that we can deal with these goblins. The last set of the batch of goblins were pretty tough business. I've been thinking about maybe the strategy that we will employ this time, but I will discuss that when we come to it. I think maybe the sleep spell might be a good way of circumventing a lot of our pain, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's do the atmosphere as well. And what on the atmosphere? It was unexplained sound. So unexplained sounds and weird noises. So let's see whether this is appropriate. And this might actually just be mixed in with the noise of the goblins. And this might have been something that might have been hinted at on the other side of the... You know, if we'd actually been listening to the door, we might have heard this. 67. 67 is rustling. So, yeah, rustling. A rustling of the rushes. A rustling of wind. Maybe there is some ventilation in this. It's used as part of the, because it's a kind of indoctrination and meditation chamber, maybe there is a kind of ventilation system. It lets in some sort of air. So there is a kind of rustling of wind. So I've got rustling. It was 65, wasn't it? Yeah, rustling. Yeah, that's all it says. So we can really use that to our imagination. So that is the room. If I just put room purpose on the indoctrination and meditation, and whether we can actually I think if I was going to actually play this out, I would probably actually draw it on a very similar schematic like I did with this room last time. And I'd probably take just a little break in the video and actually draw up a room. I think I'd probably do that because this is quite good for actually placing it, because remember we had things like cages and whistles and crescents and the stool. The stool was quite entertaining, and also I could put in all the kind of almost like the sub-atmospheric things of the room. So I'm trying to think of the things that would be in here. Maybe just this horrible wall hangings, or maybe symbols on the walls. And this is all part of the indoctrination. So symbols of lawful evil. You know, Dagobert must be basically basically bulking every time he goes into one of these things and crossing himself and doing all sorts of stuff. Okay, so that is the room. I think we have got that. We've got map room. We've got these items ticked off. So I've done those. Let's get on to our goblin friends and find out just exactly what makes them tick. I will use, I think I will use the orange for the goblins. And I have this checklist, which is basically a motivation roll. So let's find out what their motivation is and what shapes their perspective. Again, I consult my notes for that. I have a little table at the back, which is all to do with our expedition to Darkwater Lake. And here it is. So I can employ the D4 of the goblins. This is called Goblin Encounter. The motivation and rationale of the goblins in the Wandering Monster encounter is determined by rolling a 1d4. So are we going to get another 4? Or are we going to get something different? So let's find out what their motivation is. This will be interesting. They get a 1 this time. So what, pray tell, is 1, Brian? So here we go. Scavenging and hoarding. The goblins are using the ruined temple as a base of operations, 80% a faction, or a temporary hideout, 20%. So this might actually determine maybe the motivation of that original patrol, because we're saying that maybe this is a higher motivation. You know, is it a base of operations, or are they using it as a temporary hideout while they scavenge for anything valuable or useful among the rubble? And I suppose if they're using it as a temporary hideout, that's probably better for us, because we don't really want a mass goblin lair. We really want this kind of like an open dungeon for us to explore. But if it needs to be, it is a base of operations. We just have to face that. Otherwise, it's a temporary hideout, but we're going to have to determine that. So they're going to scavenge for anything valuable or useful among the rubble. They might be looking for discarded weapons, tools, forgotten treasures, or even just interesting junk to add to their growing hoard. Okay, initial reaction, startled and aggressive. They will likely perceive the adventurers as a threat to their riches, inverted commas, no matter how paltry. Shouts, crude war cries, and a disorganized but immediate charge will be common. Okay, and remember, we have discovered these goblins with treasure. And they are viewed as occupants of this room. So we're expecting maybe they have got their hoard and they are guarding it, or maybe they are transporting it in or out. Who knows? During combat, they will attempt to swarm the adventurers using their numbers to their advantage. Some might try to disarm or trip, while others focus on direct attacks. If they start taking significant casualties, especially if their leader, the loudest and most aggressive one, falls, their morale will quickly break, which is a bit similar to the patrol. You would expect that kind of dynamic with a group, and have a strong leader that is kind of motivating them and licking them into shape, because these goblins are probably quite unruly and disobedient on their own, and if they have a strong master to basically lash the whip, they will probably follow on. And also I have these things for the aftermath, if they lose and if they win, but we don't need to go to that level just now. The main thing we need to focus on, probably at the first instance, is whether they're using the Rune Temple as a base of operations or as a temporary hideout. So let's find out that. So on a 01 to 80, it is a base of operations. Anything higher, we are talking about a temporary hideout. And maybe the other patrol was just some of their mates just tramping around. So we have a most definite, this is a goblin hideout, a base of operations. So that is interesting. So on motivation, I'm going to put scavenging and hoarding. Scavenging and hoarding. So this must be a detail that's been instructed by the overall goblin leader. Go out, scavenge, find stuff, bring it back. And they're not really there to kind of come into the dungeon. They are going to take it further into its depths. So maybe they're having a bit of a breather. The famous, we just want to breathe, that type of thing. They're probably quite idle and kind of work shy goblins. They are in a base of operations. Okay. I think what we need to do is maybe just go down to basics and actually determine surprise, and actually see whether our characters are in a position to surprise. And then when we get into the mechanics, what I might do is just pause the video just shortly, draw up the scene, have the opponents ready to deal with each other, and then we're off on another goblin confrontation. So let's find out what we need to do with our surprise roll. We have got our characters let's use Anarian as our key one. And I don't actually have any of my goblins out, but let's use this black one here as the goblin. Now the goblins, I'm going to use the black dice, and Anarian can use white. Now with surprise, Anarian will only be surprised on a 1, and the goblins, he adds on 1, so they'll be surprised on a 1 to 3. So let's find out what the surprise situation is. And we get right. Ooh. So ordinarily Anarian would be surprised, but the goblins are surprised, and they will be surprised for 2 minus 1. 1. 1. So Anarian was quite lucky. If they had rolled a 4, the goblins, Anarian would have been, and the party by default would have been surprised for 1 segment. So we could have burst in, and then the goblins could have had a bit of time to do their business. But because they are surprised and they got a 2, you take the lower from the higher, and that is the number that the higher has as a segment of surprise. So armed with that information, we can also determine what the distance is, because that is our next question. And we go to page 60 something, I think. I'm starting to learn where everything is in the Dungeon Master's Guide. That's a good sign that I'm getting living and breathing the Dungeon Master's Guide. And when we have surprise can only be the factor in close encounter situations. If either or both parties are surprised, the distance must be either 1 to 3, or it must be determined under the actual area modifier. So I think when we actually get the room, in fact we do have a little tiny schematic here. Let's find out where the goblins are in relation to us. So they can be here, or they could be here, or they could be here. In fact, they could be anywhere. There are 10 of them, so maybe they will be taking up a couple of spaces. So let us decide that and put these into zones. So 1 to 3, say 1 to 2, they are close to the door. Or maybe we should do 1 to 3 here, 4 to 6 in this area. Let's do that. That's probably the safest way to do it. Yeah, 1 to 3 in the near zone and 4 to 6 in the far. So they are going to be in the near zone. And are they going to be right in front of us, or are they going to be on either side and maybe spilling into the... So we could do a D6 for that. Sorry, a D3 for that. So they are going to be more centered here. So I think that's a fairer way to do it. So the goblins are based just to the side of this door. What are they doing? They're probably maybe lounging around, resting, fitted into that area. There is a possibility, and I can always build this in, that some of the goblins are a bit more moving around and out of this group, but the majority, I'm saying, will probably be clustered in that particular area. Okay, we have one surprise segment to our advantage. We are probably going to try to use that to our advantage. We do have a number of options, because we could maybe just slam the door, or an Arian could loose a few shots, and then we could maybe slam the door and then head back down here. But all that does is that maybe the goblins have been alerted, and what they will do, they maybe actually go and alert someone else, and we might have more goblins on us. So we've really got to consider that situation. Okay, right, what I think I'll do is I'll just pause the video just now, and I'll draw up this, and I'll come back and we'll have a schematic. Okay, that's me drawing up a large schematic of the room. We can place that here, and I think that's just about all on camera. Yep. Probably the action is going to be happening here. What we can do, I suppose, is we do have some of these items. I reckon that things like the thumb screws and maybe the pouch have already been taken up by the goblins, because they are scavengers. So they probably have within their possession the thumb screws, probably this torn sack that might be lying around on the floor. So let's maybe just say it's we'll do a d6 and just determine where it's going to be. So actually it is where the goblins are. So there's a torn sack that's just lying there. The barrel of oil, again, I think I can maybe try to place that randomly too. And we'll just use it clockwise. And we'll do 1 to 3, 4 to 6. So that is up here. So we've got this barrel of oil up here. A little barrel. An expertly drawn barrel on its side, full of oil. So, you know, bear that in mind. Don't light any cigarettes in this room. What else have we got? We've got rushes. Rushes are maybe going to be all over the place. The pouch, yeah, the thumb screws. Okay, and then of course we've got this rustling going on. Maybe there are some sort of ventilations things. And I suppose the only really clear additional dressing to do with the room is maybe some of the iconography on the wall, some of these markings, some of these signs of the lawful evil religion which Dagobert is balking at. We do have our characters now, the ones that were doing the basic pushing on the door. Adeline has already sprung back and is starting to memorize her spell, ready to fire it into whatever she needs to. Anarian has got his bow ready. Lindris and Tristan are waiting eagerly to assist. Dagobert has his lantern, the Lantern of Bane, all ready to shine a light. There are loads of goblins here. I am going to have to get my mass goblin items out. What we might do is actually place as many goblins as we can in this area, and then if I do have an overspill, I will. So how many is that? That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I need a leader. What would be an appropriate? Let's have a red leader. And I think I called my leader in this in anticipation of having goblins. I have called him Utrag the Slasher. So he doesn't sound too nice. Utrag the Slasher. He's even got a slightly bashed in head. So maybe his helmet is a bit dented from lots of goblin wars. What are the goblins doing in this huddle? Maybe they are either, could they be fighting over something? Could they be wrestling over something? Maybe they've found something in this purse. Maybe they have found something in this room. Maybe there is some other dynamic going on. Should we ask an oracle? And if we get a 5 or a 6, could be that yes, they are fighting over something. Yeah, I never really thought of that dimension. Why don't we just bring in a little layer of complexity and say, Oracle, Oracle, Oracle on the wall, do the goblins fall out at all? And we get, yes, they're having a bit of an argument, so probably they are quite distracted. They're doing the usual goblin thing, saying, that's mine, I want those thumb screws. How am I supposed to do my torturing if I don't have a good pair of thumb screws? And give me that sack. It might be torn, but it's mine. And Utrag is saying, look, any more nonsense, I'm going to knock it out of you. I'm going to bash some heads together. Oh, what's this coming through the door? We surprise them. We have 1 round to do something. I think basically we have already got a kind of game plan in our head, because we have taken so many hits from previous. If you just bear with me, I'm going to put my other pawns away. We've taken so much damage from the previous combat that I think we need some fast, efficient way of dealing with goblins, especially ones clustered in a group. We are going to consult the player's handbook and say, Adeline, over to you. Use the best spell in AD&D for first level characters. And she says, I will oblige. I am going to go add Somnum and cast Sleep in the surprise segment, if we can just make sure that she has the time to prepare. So Magic uses spells first level and Sleep. And what have we got? So it does casting time, 1 segment. Yes. So according good old Anarian, because he is a ranger, he has given us but even though he was maybe slightly wrong-footed himself, he was surprised he still has the jump on these monsters. So we do have 1 segment's grace to do the business. So that is what we're going to do. So let's see what Adeline does. She is going to say, in fact, what we should do really, before we do any of that, is actually determine what is the order of engagement with the surprise thing. So we've got avoid engagement, so we could have slammed the door. We did discuss that. We're not going to do that. Attempt to parley, we're not going to talk. Await action by other party, definitely not. Discharge missiles or magical device attacks, or cast spells, or turn her dead. So she will do it coterminously with anything Anarian does with his automatic machine gun short bow. She is going to do at the same time. So let's do a bit of Sleep first. We'll do the impact. So when a magic user casts a sleep spell, he or she will usually cause a comatose slumber to come upon 1 or more creatures. Yes, from the spell's effect, all the creatures to be affected by the sleep spell must be within a 3-inch diameter circle. Well, that's right, because basically I've got, that's 20 feet across, and this is 30. So yeah, they are in the area of sleep. It must come out as a great big cone and maybe just encapsulates them. So all creatures to be affected by it must be within a 3-inch diameter circle. The number of creatures which can be affected is a function of their life energy levels, expressed as hit dice and hit points. So creatures hit dice up to 1, 4 to 16. So I think that's what goblins are. If we just refer to the monster manual, I think they only have 1 to 7 hit points. So I just want to double check this. Luckily I still got my post-it note for goblins as here, and that's what the horrible little things look like. Yeah, goblins range from yellow through dull orange to brick red in skin colour. Ugh. Their eyes are reddish to lemon yellow. They dress in dark leather gear, and their garments tend towards dull, soiled-looking colours: brown drab, dirty grey, stained maroon. Yeah, they each range of 50. Well, potentially these ones aren't going to. These have hit points of 1 to 7. Yeah, so they are under 1 hit dice monsters. So according to the player's handbook, we are going to roll 4d4 to get the number of people affected. The area of effect is determined by the range and area centre decided upon by the spellcaster. Slapping or wounding will awaken affected creatures, but noise will not do so. Awakening requires 1 complete melee round. Note that sleeping creatures can be slain automatically at the rate of 1 per slayer per melee round. The material components for this spell is a pinch of fine sand, rose pestle, or right. And saving throw, none. So please take note, no saving throw for this. So it's all about the numbers. It's all about the d4. Are we going to be blessed with d4? Let's find out. We need to get at least 10. We can get a maximum of 16. So let's do it by the numbers. The first one only does 1. So this one starts to fall asleep. That's 1. The second die roll is a 3, so we get 3. This one, rolling about. And I suppose I might have to be a bit more discerning and see whether Utrag is one of the ones that is covered. So the third dice, 3 again. This is good, Adelind. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's find out who it is. It is this one. We've got 1 to 5. Here we get 6. I'll just say this one. And the final one, 1 of 4. This one here. So our final dice. Who is going to be? Oh, sorry. I knocked my camera there. I was getting too excited. Who is going to be the last one to succumb to sleep? Lullaby baby. 3. That's it. It's a wipeout. They're all gone. Yes. That's I didn't even have to roll up their hit points. That was fantastic. Or the weapons. We have a result. We have 10 sleeping goblins on our watch. All lying about. We can rescue the thumbscrews and put them to good use, probably destroy them. Okay, and what we can do is they sleep for 5 rounds per level. So we are talking 5 rounds that they can sleep for. So, and what can we do? Sleeping creatures can be slain automatically at the rate of 1 per slayer per melee round. So, according to that would be 5 times 5. We could 10. We could just take 2 rounds if we all got stuck in. This is a bit of a dirty business, having to do this, but I suppose it got to be done. Maybe Adelind can maybe just you say, I think I've done enough in this situation. I cast the sleep spell. She'll just stand aside while the gentleman, Darkslayer is absolutely up for this. Lindris can hardly hold him back. He is doing the business on the goblins. He is slaying away 1 per round. An Aryan, he's okay. What he can do is probably just fire his arrow into them and do something with that. Dagobert, he's not too partial to this type of thing. He does have his morality, but you know, bashing a goblin over the head with his mace, it's all part of the course. And Tristan, he is a thief, so he's just quite happy to get his dagger out and get stuck in. So we do dispatch all the goblins. If this is any different to what anybody else thinks how you do these type of encounters and the sleep spell, please let me know. But according to my my reading of that, that is exactly what happens, and there is no comeback. Unfortunately, these goblins have to all perish. We can't even get the flowery language that Uhtred, the slasher. Why was he called the slasher? We'll never find out. They are gone. We have the tantalizing prospect now that we can actually search the room for treasure. So the characters, I suppose maybe that classifies as a round of combat, a turn. So maybe we do need to rest after that. So if I just get my overall master sheet up, just get the characters out of the way for a second. We probably need to rest after that for one, and then to map it, it's going to take a turn and a half because it's 20 by 30. So that's one, and then we're going to have five of these. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. In fact, that's wrong. I should only be 3. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. That should be, or is it? Yeah, is it? They're 10 minutes and they're 1 minute. Yeah, that is right. I did it right. So 5. Yeah, that's right. And then when we go up to 10, we go up another one. Okay. That is all the timekeeping done. That's us map the room. Let us search it. Let's find out. Apart from the barrel of oil and that rustling, we're going, what is that noise? Dagobert's saying, look, I cannot stand this room. Let us liberate it of its spoils and then get out of here. We'll say we will oblige Dagobert. This is the rewards that we get. Adeline, you really did the business for us. You know, you saved us a whole episode of goblin slaying the hard way. You know, this sleep spell is really the business. We love it. Yes. So let's find out what we get in our treasure table. So we go to our Appendix A. And Appendix A on the treasure says that take 2 rolls on without monster table and add 10% to the total of each roll. So we are going to get our percentage dice, and the first one we're going to do is add 10% to this. So we get 24 plus 10 is 34. Yes. It is our favorite. It's the 1,000 silver pieces. Or is it? Yes, we will. I have to get my little get us here. So this doesn't really come into effect anymore. I think I can take that out. That motivation is not important anymore. So we have 1,000 silver pieces as our first one. I will probably have to consult my special table on that. Maybe what I could do is I could leave that to the next episode. So we get an exciting start. And then the second one, we get a 76. Well, that sounds a bit better. We add 10, 86. 86 is on the table. It is 100 platinum pieces per level. Right. Okay. Well, that's pretty transportable. And I think a platinum piece. What is a platinum piece? Is that 20? This handbook's got a little conversion table. I think it's 22. Let's just have a quick check because this is where all the stuff is that you can buy, and it's got a little conversion table. Platinum is 5 gold pieces, so that's 500 gold pieces. Yeah, and it's pretty transportable. So yes, We've got to find out what these things are in. So treasure contained in, and is it guarded? D20, and it's a 1 in 20 that is. So let's find out what the things are in. We'll get our D20 for that. If I can find out where my D20 has gone. Bear with me a sec. There we go. So the first one is in 9 huge chests. Oh, we didn't see these huge chests before. Maybe the goblins were sitting on them. That's on a huge chest. It might not even be silver pieces. It might be something else. If I can find my little thing in time, what I might do is actually just roll that up and just tell you what it is. And then the platinum pieces is in a 15 stone container. Stone container. And 1 in 20, they are guarded. The first one isn't, and the second one isn't. So we're okay on that. If I can get to my little sheet, I will do that right now. If I can't find it quickly, in fact, what I'll do is I'll just pause it while I try to find it. Here it is. It's my alternative minor treasure table. So for any results of 1,000 copper pieces or 1,000 silver pieces roll on this table, they have a value equal to the equivalent amount in gold pieces. Their weight is their GP value. So the value of 1,000 silver pieces is 50 gold pieces. So for items generated, these need to be sold via the negotiation can. Yep. Items and coins generated are still rolled for being held in containers. So let's find out what we get. We might still just get 1,000 silver pieces. That is the luck of the draw. But it would be nice to see if we can get something a bit special. We get an 83. And an 83 is, we roll on the special items table. And this is the special items table, which is a D20. Yeah, let's find out. That's pretty good. So this is going to be in our huge chest. So sitting at the bottom of a huge chest is 13. And a 13, all right, so right at the bottom of this chest is an ancient coin, valuable to collectors and sages. Right, so we found it. This is very transportable, 1 ancient coin. So we're going to scrap the 1,000. So Tristan is delighted. He says, 1 ancient coin, that will do for me. 50 gold pieces worth. I like it. Okay, right. That was interesting. That was entertaining how we dealt with those goblins. I'm almost sure that I did that correctly. I was reading from the player's handbook. It didn't seem to say anything else. We were first in the initiative. We had the surprise. We had 1 segment with which to basically eliminate the goblin threat. We did that. We are now in the position to, having explored this room, we can proceed and move further into the dungeon through this door, or potentially move back here and go off in a different direction. I think we'd probably be tempted to continue. The only downside is that Adeline has lost her spell. She has no longer got that ability to cast a spell. She'll need a day, at least 4 hours of meditation time to regenerate. We are also going to be approaching a wandering monster check at some stage, so yeah, that is an issue. We still haven't really come across anything of significance in this dungeon. We've had quite a bit of excitement. We've had quite a bit of opposition. We have not really had the reward that matches the level. Hopefully in future episodes we will be able to get that reward. One final thing, I think with Tristan, I did notice that when I was talking about his fact, remember he was handicapped. I was going to give him a handicap and put him back to strength 16. Also, one of the limitations of being that is that it's only a +1 to hit bonus. I think he was getting a +2 because of his 18 strength, so he's not going to be as useful in combat, particularly from the damage side, causing damage when he does connect, but also in the hit. So I think that's fair, because I think we discussed it, that it was proper that he be penalized in some way for that grievous wound that he took. Okay, right, I think I've done enough for today. I don't want to continue adventuring anymore and opening up any more further possibilities. I'd rather keep what's behind this door for our next episode. We are probably, as I said, on quite a clean slate. We've got some treasure in our rucksacks. We are prepared to carry on. Venture forth, unfortunately depleted with a spell, but those are the breaks of AD&D characters. I cannot believe that we're still all survived. We've still got an integral group. I think this is a video number 96. Am I tempting fate by saying that? But we almost lost Tristan. That was close enough. So maybe that is our fate has been met. Okay, I am obviously starting to ramble now. What I will do is get this video up and speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.